been a venture capitalist for 30-something years, and I'm wondering whether you view the things I've been doing as productive, unproductive, parasitic, et cetera. And in particular, to the extent that companies are involved in information, which isn't really counted so much in our economy, improving efficiency of markets and so forth. How do you view those types of companies?
Okay, so as you're a funder of the Aspen Institute, I'm not allowed to call you a parasite. But you're obviously not. No, so I don't think that way. I don't think about, like, is VC good, is it bad? That was kind of the joke I was mentioning with Adam Smith. He kind of just literally made a list, productive, unproductive. And I don't know if you saw the list, but basically everyone in this room was unproductive. You know, it had men and women of letters, so any professors in the room, lawyers and doctors, unproductive, right? So that's kind of a very static view, good and bad. In his case, he wasn't actually saying bad. He was just like, there's these activities, let's be careful how much we're spending on them because they're not actually productive. What I've been mentioning when I say steer activities back into the production boundary is that organizations and their activities can fundamentally be redesigned. You know, when I say markets are outcomes, it depends. Outcomes of what? Of how we design the organizations and their interrelationships. Personally, I think lots of the lobbying that's been done, and I just gave one example, by the VC industry, but also, I mean, the large pharmaceutical companies have done huge amounts of lobbying on taxation, has not helped get a more productive form of capitalism. There's very different types of venture capitalists. Some kind of look more like basically just private equity and are very short term. Those long-term VCs are, I would argue, more productive. But what's really interesting is there isn't really a fora. I don't hear the long-term VC guys or gals coming to the fore when countries around the world, for example, after the financial crisis, were like, what are we going to do? You know, what are we going to do to increase growth? There isn't really a collective forum in the business community, let alone in the VC community, that are like, all right, well, what you really need to do is, you know, don't do austerity. That ain't going to get you growth. You need mission-oriented, strategic, long-term investments, which then crowd in, for example, the venture capitalists in the tech community, because that's exactly what happened in nanotech, in biotech, in clean tech. I have some interesting data on clean tech in this area. The state, when it actually is mission-oriented, strategic, organized in the DARPA kind of way, can do wonders for producing long-term growth because it catalyzes an investment in the business community. If there isn't that voice, and all we hear is, you know, reduce capital gains, you know, and not debating the really dysfunctional use of patents. As I've already mentioned, patents are way too upstream, so the tools for research are being patented. They're too wide, so they're being abused for strategic reasons. If we don't have business itself arguing for a more productive form of capitalism, it's not surprising then that you get kind of this race to the bottom in moments where countries are kind of desperate for growth's sake. Yeah, I mean, so for me, the question is not, is VC parasitic or unparasitic? It's, I think it should stop actually lobbying for some pretty parasitic policies, but also lobby for the need for more long-term venture capital funding, which I think you yourself are interested in. But there isn't that voice, you know.